Hey everybody, how's it going? I'm imashbuttons here, and we're back with yet another weekly JJK chapter review, this time with chapter 257. Now before we begin, make sure you leave a like and comment, as it helps boost me in the algorithm, and maybe even consider subscribing, as I'm on the road to 1,000 subs, and it would mean a whole lot to me. So with the last chapter being such a banger, and having to get through a week hiatus, the wait for this most recent one was certainly taking its toll on me, but as I'm about to get into, it was well worth the wait. The chapter starts out with a complete bombshell, as we learn from Sukuna that he had eaten his own brother while in the womb to survive, and the soul of that deceased sibling was eventually reincarnated as Yuji's father, Jin Itadori. And of course, as we know from previous flashbacks, Kenjaku mated with him and gave birth to Yuji out of his Kenjutsu. Yes, I said Kenjutsu, don't act like it's not funny. It's very cool to see that a lot of people's theories about Sukuna and Yuji being related somehow were true, even though I'm sure it'll be extremely obvious in hindsight with a reread. I like it a lot as a plot point as well, to be honest. It's a tried and true way of explaining why the one random teenager is able to survive all these batshit crazy supernatural encounters. If it worked for Yusuke Urameshi, it can damn sure work for Yuji Itadori. Continuing on into the chapter, the one-on-one brawl between Sukuna and Yuji continues as our hero keeps up the pressure by unleashing more black flashes. That's right, I said flashes as in plural, because he lands not one, but two of them back to back, and by this point, I'm just in my chair losing my mind and pacing the room in excitement as I read. The narrator confirms to us that Yuji has two curse techniques available to him, the first being blood manipulation, obviously from the death paintings, and then Sukuna's cutting technique, which he uses a few times in the chapter. Now, Gege must have heard me bitching and moaning during the last chapter review, because this is a chapter where Ino finally gets to shine, even in his own underdog sort of way. We're treated to a brief moment of Ino finally unleashing his dragon Shikigami Ryu, but unfortunately, as you would probably guess, it doesn't last too long against the world's strongest sorcerer, as it's butchered quite fast. But much like an assist in Marvel vs. Capcom, it was used to create an opening, and create an opening it did, as it helps to set up Yuji for yet another Black Flash. This kid is on fire right now. Hell, the constant pressure on Sukuna is such a game changer that the ancient sorcerer remarks to himself that it feels like Yuji is getting close to his level, as he's completely tanking every slash and every blow thrown his way. For the first time since his fight with Satoru Gojo, Sukuna has his back against the wall, bad enough to where he's actually getting angry and showing emotion in the face of his potential defeat. This bastard has felt close to unstoppable for so long that this chapter is like a splash of cold water. Hopefully this week helped open the eyes of everyone that's been calling the Sukuna Gauntlet boring and repetitive, because this is the stuff that the great shonen stories are made out of, man. I'll just say it, if you haven't liked the series since Gojo's death, you're simply just a delusional and bitter Gojo fan, or you just simply don't know ball. This has been a generational run for a shonen villain, and I can't wait to see where it goes next. The chapter closes with one last bit of Ino fan service, as he creates his second opening for Yuji this week to unleash his 8th consecutive Black Flash, shattering the record and making his deceased teachers proud. God damn, what a chapter. This series just cannot seem to disappoint me lately, at all. As for my closing thoughts, I've said multiple times how I think that this chapter is absolute gas, no breaks, and it's for a few reasons. First off, the action this week actually surprised me because of how fluid the panels flowed and how easy it was to tell what was going on during the hand-to-hand segments. That's been a complaint I've had before, and luckily this week didn't really have either of those two issues, so big win on that front. Next up is an obvious one, but I love the way that Ino was moving this week. He's such an endearing character, and every time he's on screen, you know he's giving it his all, because he knows Nanami is with him in spirit, easily becoming a favorite character of mine. Lastly, we gotta touch upon the family tree revelation. When I had initially seen the spoiler, I was definitely like, oh shit, this kind of puts pretty much everything about Yuji into perspective on why he's so damn strong. When he finally uses domain expansion, I know the fandom is going to erupt. There's no guarantee that'll happen anytime soon. I'm not gonna lie, Kenjaku being mentioned again makes me feel like we haven't seen the last of him. I think if Sukuna ends up losing here, he may initiate the merger as one last fuck you to our heroes. With there being no break next week, I'm sure the next chapter will get us one step closer to answering these questions. That wraps up my review on this week's chapter though. Let me know down below in the comments on what you thought of the chapter and what you think the future holds for the series. Until next time though everybody, This has been imashbuttons, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Peace!